Thanks, Jerry. First of all, really good to see everyone. I think this is the biggest turnout we have had. So, really appreciate that and everything you do for our program in the coverage. Kind of a special day today, not only it serving as media day and picture day, but kind of gets back to why we do what we do. And I don't know if you've seen the social media posts yet, but the ability to get up in front of a team setting and reward a young man a scholarship like Reed Linder, and to see the joy that him and his family have. And he's meant so much to our program, not only on the field and the special teams game, but also off the field and being one of our team leaders and really kind of our culture setters um, in our locker room, in our special teams, and just overall. So that's what makes kind of coaching rewarding. And obviously, he deserves all that. Kind of state of the program where we're at, and then I'll pause and answer any questions Joe may have. But we've been through 6 practices. Had our first padded practice last night, um, and I don't really know yet where we're at. I think if a coach stands up here and tells you they do, then they must know a lot more than we do about our players. When you have the volume of new faces, you're building your identity each and every day, and you try to build game like situations, kind of create some chaos, as I call it, controlled chaos, and see how they respond. Um, I think you guys knew after practice too, it wasn't not up to the Arkansas State standard by the way we practice, the way we prepare, our effort, our mental effort, and intensity that it takes um, in our practices. And we voted on a leadership group, and I think our leadership group to this date has really done a good job. And I think we've come back and we've responded, and we've had some really, really quality practices. Are they perfect? Nope. That's why you practice. But in terms of encouragement, connection, um, the physicality that it takes to play the game. So I've been really encouraged by what I've seen the last couple of days. And we have a group that wants to do it, that wants to do well. Just when you have the high volume of new people that have never been through a training camp before, everything is new. And so as a coach, you can't assume anything from the way you practice to the way you thud to now the way you tackle, the way you take care of your teammates, the preparation before practice, the mental effort, the communication. And I think they're growing in understanding their expectations. And I think our older players are doing a good job with that. But I think the biggest thing through 6 practices is the ability to play throughout the duration of a play. We talk about 4 to 6 A to B, uh, probably every 5 seconds, and it's conditioning your mind to do it. And it's all in your thought process. So if we say, think about it, if we say an average football play lasts 4 to 6 seconds long, and I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, you're going to play with pretty good effort. That's going to go for about 4 seconds. So when you have 4 play racks, you're only playing football for 16 seconds. And there's so much downtime in the game of football, and kind of presented that to the team, and it's almost gave them a different perspective in how you think about it. That really you're only playing 4 to 5 seconds, and if you really look at how much time you really spend now in a 5-year career of actually playing football, it's mind-boggling. And so I think that's helped us. We're hunting consistency, and like I told a lot of our players, every day you perform, you're putting a body of your work on video. That's your football identity. And what's your body of work? And a lot of these individuals don't have any body work. When you're in a program and you got an older team and you have players that have been in your program 3 years, 4 years, they kind of have an established body of work. You kind of know what they're all about. When you have a lot of new faces, every day they come out, they're putting their football reputation, their football identity on video. And we use a thing called just press play. It's not what your parents think. It's not what you think. It's what the video thinks. The video will never lie. And so when you put the video on, what does the silent video look like? And our players have done a good job with that. They want to do well. And it's up to us as coaches to continue to demand it from them, encourage them to do it, and kind of lead the way with that. But I'll know a little bit more. We have our first scrimmage in the stadium under the lights this Saturday, so I'll know a little bit where we're at. And then, from a calendar standpoint, we have the shortest training camp we've had since we've been here. So, when school starts, you lose the training camp mentality, you lose the extra walkthrough sessions, you lose the extra meeting time. So, really, we've kind of had to kind of expedite training camp with situational football, with end of the game situations, end of the half situations, all that, because everything is accelerated because of the start of school. So, uh, the next couple of days are going to be vital. And then how do we handle the Monday uh, and even Tuesday before school starts? So we'll see where that goes. So I will pause and answer any questions y'all may have.
Hey guys, quickly, we are live, so we want to make sure the microphone makes its way around to you. Raise your hand, we'll make sure it gets to you. Due to the first full pass practice last night, what were the positives you saw of that?
Yeah, I saw a team that came out and competed. I thought it was a lot of fire, passion, and energy, which we talk about. Um, they were trying to do what they were coached. I thought our effort was much better. I thought for really the first day in pads, our physicality was probably average to above average. But I was really, really encouraged by what I saw. And all about training camp literally is about stacking days, putting a good day after a good day after a good day. And we've been able to do that the last couple of days. Now, obviously, no practice today. How do we respond tomorrow when we get back on the grass fields? And then we'll practice again Thursday under the lights in the stadium, because we try to mimic the start of game times. And if you look at the start of the season, I want to say 6 out of our first 7, and possibly the first 7 are all at night. So we're trying to mimic kind of the start of that, so they're ready to understand how you catch the ball in the lights and all those things. We had a couple situations last night where we had some players lose the ball in the lights. So I think the more we can do that, and then it gets back to you don't practice under the lights when school starts. So we got to kind of fit all that in. Um, but I've been really encouraged by what I saw. We did a lot of situational football. We did goal line. We did short yardage, third down. There's a lot of flaws. Programmatic wise, in terms of situational football, we must improve greatly in third down offense and defense. Red zone efficiency of scoring touchdowns in the red zone and not kicking field goals and not giving up touchdowns by the defense. So there's a lot of areas from a situational football standpoint that we have really tried to really educate them and pour into them in this training camp.
A small sample size, but what of a unit has got your attention with their progress so far in this preseason?
You know, I think every unit, every position group, we talk about being 9 strong. We talk about power of the position. And it's like in the Army, you have platoons. And in football, you have 9 position groups. And we talk about being 9 strong, power of the position. And you may not be the first unit, but you better not be the last unit. And that's from your academics to community service to doing the right things to your performance on the field, off the field, your leadership. And the position coach is the leader of that platoon. And so, we talk about that all the time. I've seen progress in all 9 groups. I think we need more consistency from the specialist position, especially at punting. As you know, I'm very particular about the punt team, and we need to take great strides in that area, and they will, because I've seen it. But I think every position group has made strides, some obviously bigger than others. I think some position groups, it takes a little bit longer to kind of get into a groove. When you look at the offensive front from now, you're in the summer and you're working your footwork and all that, but now you got to work the communication, your footwork, your hands, and the physicality, and then the mental endurance. So I think they're all progressing. I will say this, and I've continued to say it. Ben Armour continues to be an asset for us. probably the best shape football team we've had. Does that still put you in great football condition? No, but we've been able to do more in less time because of the summer that our players have had.
You've spoken about the portal a lot and how that's changed football. You're constantly having turnover every year. This year, you were able to have success in recruiting, brought in guys that have significant playing time at various positions. How much does that help you?
It does. It gets back to kind of what we spoke about, that body of work. When you have individuals that have performed in games, you have a little bit more, but now they have to prove it for you. But we really tried to make a point of emphasis in recruiting is production over talent. And we didn't care if the productivity came at the FCS level, the Division 2 level, the Division 3 level. Do they have a body of work behind them? And when you have relatively maybe 10 days to recruit a football team, especially in the portal. You have to do a great job. And then also um, the love of football. Why do they do what they do? Do you love football? Because when you're in our program, we all know the demands that we place of doing the right things. You have to love football. And like I tell them in recruiting, this program's not for everyone, but for the ones that it's for, they usually have great success. And, I've been really encouraged by the newcomers that we've brought in. And really, our freshman class has really done a remarkable job. And even the ones that have gotten here in June, some of them have put them in positions to be able to help us. And I think in today's world of also the transfer portal, the 5 for 5, there are no red shirts anymore. So, you're trying to get all your freshmen ready to play. Lines of scrimmage are always harder, but you're trying to get them ready to play for quality depth when you get into week 7, 8, 9. And what do we have, 7 or 8 games in a row? So the depth of this football team is going to be challenged immensely.
Coach, you mentioned 1 for 5, and then forgive me if you've already addressed this at some other point, but
Yeah, we've had numerous conversations with Simeon. Right now, I think he's elected to get on with his life and chase some career goals and dreams, and we support him thoroughly. And he'll always be a Red Wolf and be part of us. And part of the kind of the lawsuit and the pause and the stop, whatever verbiage you want to use legally. Um, you know, the one place only he can play is here. Um, and so, we'll still have conversations and all that, but, I want to respect what he wants to do and be there for him to support him, whether it's football or, getting on with his career.
I ask you about Chauncey Cobb, just what your expectations are for him from a production leadership standpoint after last season, and also just his role in the offense.
Yeah.
The fact that he said he's moving around different positions and using them different ways.
Well, I think we all would agree on this. Chauncey Cobb has a unique skill set. And so for us to have the ability to put the ball in his hands, we have to do a great job from a schematical standpoint and also his involvement in special teams. He's a dynamic, unique individual. Um, and I think you don't need to place any expectations upon Chauncey. Chauncey places them upon himself. He's a self starter, he's self motivated. So when you have individuals like that in your program, I just want him to be him. And he's charismatic, he's got some charisma about him. Our players believe in him. He's one of our culture setters, he's one of our owners of the team. And so I just want him to be him. And I think you have to really be careful that you don't ever burden or place anxiety on players. I want them to be who they are. I want them to be them. Every player has a uniqueness, um, you know, and I want them, we can have 105 personalities. I want that, but we have to have one identity by the way we play, the toughness, the physicality, all that. So I know that Chauncey's going to bring it every day. And so as a coach, it's refreshing to coach an individual like him.
The first scrimmage coming up on Saturday, is there like a target number of plays? What are just some of the things you just want to see?
Yeah, I think a clean scrimmage, and it's double sided because on offense, we got to take care of the football. We have to create explosive plays, you know, and then defensively, we want to negate explosive plays, but also take the ball away. So as a head coach, you're kind of torn. So really, what I'd like to see is a really balanced and really competitive scrimmage, and then a team that plays really hard. And we have to do a good job with that. We can correct the mental errors. We can correct those mistakes. But I think just high competitive plays, that each play is highly contested, whether it's run or pass. We also have to find out who our special teams performers are. So we'll do some special teams live in that scrimmage as well. So it's a dress rehearsal. It's a big day for a lot of players in our program because then we start school. So that's the body of work that we talked about of really what players are going to be on the bus when we have to go across the bridge and play Memphis. So those are all things that as we go, you want to see. But I think the biggest thing is just not a lot of pre-snap penalties. We'll have Sunbelt officials here, which I've said it, probably one of the biggest challenges of getting a team ready is we don't have officials at our practice. I'm used to having a full crew of officials every day. So as coaches, we're officiating. And so, from the holding penalties to the pre-snap penalties, all those, it's going to be invaluable for us. That'll be as big a learning as anything as having a full officiating crew here on Saturday.
3 weeks from game week now. So I want to ask, do you have a specific timeline you kind of want to make a decision on a quarterback, or could that be anything that goes all the way to game day? And then
Yep.
part on that, do you see any scenario where you play multiple quarterbacks?
Yep. We may even compete all the way through pregame warmups. I've learned doing this a long time that um, you never put a timeline on it. It has to organically and naturally happen. Um, and when somebody's ready to go, what I see all four individuals making tremendous progress. All four competing every day. Um, it gets back to the word Medita. You know what that word means? Huh? Look it up in the American dictionary. You won't find it. Okay? And that's been the word that we've studied all off season. It's joy in other people's successes. And it was formed in India. And so that room has Medita. As much as they're competing, they're the first to encourage each other. They're the first to coach each other. They're the first to celebrate and have connection with each other. So, when the time has come, I think it'll organically happen. I think some individuals probably are a little further along than others, but I see everybody making tremendous progress. And, everybody talks about the quarterback, but Coach Saban and I used to talk about this all the time. It's the other 10 guys around the quarterback that make the quarterback who he is. And so I'm more concerned about who are our best 11 to give us the best opportunity to win, who's the best 15 from a depth standpoint. And so I think it'll organically happen. I just want them to compete every day. We talk about compete, don't compare. And comparison is the thief of joy. And so that Medita word is real. Um, and I like what I see in the room. I think all four. I think it's the best overall collective group of a quarterback room we've had since we've been here. And all four are doing good things, and I'm encouraged. And really, at the end of the day, the person who manages the game and get us in the right calls will be our quarterback. But I feel comfortable with all four right now. To answer your last question, is there a scenario that we could play multiple quarterbacks? Absolutely. If they earn the right to play, they'll play in certain situations.
But I'll go ahead and add.
Yes.
Yeah,
What is it again?
something about joy. I gotta look it up. And
Finding
joy in others.
joy in other people's successes.
I'll,
You look at the world we live in, you talked about the transfer portal, you look at all that, and it's all about get mine and me, me, me. And as y'all know, we spend so much time on connection around here and really what does a football family embody? And our players, like I said, our players have done a really good job. I mean, I always gauge the success, and everyone says, how do you gauge a successful season? Is it measured by obviously, make no mistake about it, we're here to win championships. That's what it's all about. But the way I've always looked at it as a head coach, does your team overachieve or underachieve? And to me, that's what it's all about. And I like this team's attitude. I like the way they're showing up, the way they're paying attention. We still got a long ways to go, but I'm encouraged. I wasn't encouraged after practice too, but they had a great team meeting, talk through, um, challenged our leadership group, challenged everyone in our organization, and so far everybody's responded.
My question to you is actually something I want to ask you media based. I'm going to ask. I've never seen a Red Wolves spring game where the quarterback had the no contact jerseys taken off. What was the mindset on that? What was the
Yep.
goal?
Good question. It gets back to that body. It gets back to that body of work. Um, we do not have a quarterback in our program that took one snap in a game last year, so we don't know. And when you do Skelly and you don't make the quarterback live and all that, it's like going to the driving range. And a lot of things, it'll look good. Shit, Chris Pesman can go to the driving range and look really good, and then you go play competitive golf with him, and it looks like he's never picked up a club before. So um, I'm just making sure you're paying attention. Now, seriously, and so we need to apply some pressure, but I think it's an onus of the offensive line and everyone around them uh, to protect the quarterback. And then what I discovered is it's almost as beneficial on the offense as it is the defense. You find out who can tackle a running quarterback. You find out who can finish plays in the pocket. We found so much out about our football team by being able to do that. And now we have to be smart with it. You can't be reckless about it in training camp. But spring football was a chance to give every quarterback equal opportunity reps to kind of prove what they can do. And it was really beneficial. Would I like to do that every spring? Probably not. But a lot of it was just not much of a body of work to go off of. And you would be amazed of the coaching points that occurred throughout the course of making the. I mean, you guys, a lot of you guys were at practice, and some of the things you're like, oh my gosh, how in the world did that happen? Or if that happened during the season, that's like Sports Center stuff. Like it was crazy. So I'm really glad we did it. And I thought it was a good barometer of what we needed to do in the summer and even what we needed to do in the training camp. But we found out not just about the quarterbacks, but offense and defensive players around them.
When you're looking through the transfer portal last year, how important was it to reinforce the secondary? Guys like Peterson and Flores, how important was it?
Oh, vital. And really we had to replace almost an entire defense if you look at it, but we needed to really improve our back end. And I think it gets back to um, the production that we just spoke about. And, Nora Flores has come in and he's one of our leaders. The team voted him on the leadership group. He's consistent. His effort is every day. You know what you're getting with Noah Flores, and so he's come in and not only embraced our culture, but Noah has enhanced our culture, and that's what I told our players: is y'all came here for one reason. You loved our culture. Now that you're being here, how have you enhanced our culture? And they've taken ownership in that. Noah's one of those individuals. Henderson, you just talked about, he continues to get better and better and better, and with the reps. And I think we have some quality depth in the room. Kyle Williams is an individual who continues to grow. Braden Jackson's had, a pretty consistent training camp. I mean, I could go on and on, with that group, and they're all getting better. Every single one of them. Courtney Patterson has shown up a little bit at times, just like all of them. So I'm encouraged by what I see, but just the consistency that Noah Flores brings and the leadership, and he's an older veteran player that's played a lot of football, and he was a walk-on and very humble, and then obviously, you spoke about, Dontre Henderson, who's done a really good job, and he's getting better with the volume of reps. Kyle Williams continues to grow, Marquise Williams. I mean, I could go on and on with that group. I think they're getting better every single day.
Coach,
Good morning.
Mr. Turner, y'all doing the ASU Talking Wolves podcast here on campus. Talk about Medina.
Yes, Medina.
So
Medina.
Medina. So you talk about Medina and you talk about how we can live off of it, right? So I'm talking from the student perspective here. How do we get the students here on campus to feel like they're a part of that success? And how do we get more students involved into the game life experience? Because I can recall last year seeing, a lot of times you coming out and out there. So a lot of coaches get out there and they do, fundraisers to get money for the university itself. But how can I help you get more students involved into the game life experience, just like you would in the
Yeah.
fundraising aspect?
Well, I appreciate that question, and I am going to need your help. You're really going to need everyone's help. And I think, first of all, it's challenging them. Our enrollment has been closed. I mean, you look at universities where they're struggling with enrollment. Arkansas State, this is the best time. I mean, our administration has done a remarkable job. We've really worked hand in hand with them to even improve the student body experience, the student life experience. You look at the different curriculums that we have. The way I always look at it, and Barb and I talk about when we drive around, how do you look at the success, or how do you look at the future of a university? Are there any cranes on a college campus? And you drive around our college campus, you see building, you see construction. That is evidence that your university is flourishing. Um, and we've come a long way. You look at, we even spoke about, Barb and I spoke about just the aesthetics of the grounds and what we've done to improve just everything. We have a great situation here and a great community, but we need to all be one. I got to do my part. I've tried to get out to all Greek life, get them there. We represent Arkansas State. We talk about a pride of who we are. If you look at the billboard, Central Dealerships, that's their billboard. They did that as a favor for me. I'm indebted to them. There's a reason why that poster says a pride of who we are. And, Jonesboro, Arkansas State's very prideful. And it's our job to give them something to represent. But the more people we can get there, I think spreading the word, I think our athletic administration has done a tremendous job. We have a concert now. It really should be off the chart for that West Georgia game when you think about it. I'm sitting talking to Luke Bryan, 3 weeks ago, and I'm sitting there telling him about our vision, and I bring her up. And he's like, "Oh my God, she's one of the hottest artists in country music. Like, you're getting her to come in, she'll do a great job." And I hope people understand the work that our administration has done to be able to even get her to come on and do a concert. But then it's all right, come to the concert, but now here's the next phase. Don't come to the concert and don't come to the game. Okay? It's a whole bigger picture. Come to the concert, bring your family, and then get in the game, and let's create an unbelievable environment for 6 Saturdays. All you do is you come to Arkansas State football. And it starts with the education of our students. We're going to move the student section down. We're going to move the deck down, hopefully have 2 party decks, and get people at the games. And I think if we can get people to a game and they can really experience tailgating in Tailgate City, I mean this sincerely, if they can experience the pageantry of college football, they'll come one time and they will come every single game. And so I think it's getting our messaging out. I think that's where we've lacked a little bit, is getting our messaging out, our branding out, that You know, let's be the best football program in America. It's all encompassing, best community. You know, we're Red Wolves. We live in Jonesboro. Like you drive around and look at the amount of Red Wolf license plates in our community. Now let's get them to the games. And so I'll do anything and everything to get people to the games. I think you've seen that. Um, I got to do my part, but we all got to do our part. And we're headed that way. So I'm encouraged by what I see.
I wanted to ask you about the.
So I need your help.
With the coordinators coming up next, I want to ask about the coaching staff. You talk about the players and a lot of newness with that, but
Yep.
obviously a lot of new members of the coaching staff as well. So can you just talk about how those dynamics have been so far, kind of understand what you're looking for?
I've never had gray hair before. And then Jerry wants to tell me that we have the youngest coordinators in college football. The average age of our coordinator is 30 years old. Um, and I think it's kind of exciting. I think they bring an energy. I think they bring a different dynamic. I think they're able to relate a little bit more to our players, but they're good football coaches and they're good teachers and they're good people. And as much as we talk about the connection uh, of our players, the connection of a coaching staff is just as vital. But they're learning as we go. The great thing is they were here for spring football and we have the same philosophies. And I think the other thing is, it's like I said before, for the first time, like it was, I wanted to hire coaches that have coached at high levels, that they've coached for head coaches that are demanding, that I respect, that I know, and that they understand um, the dynamics of coaching at a really high level. And I knew when I took the job here, you know, Coach Saban told me, he said, you know, you're going to be coaching coaches. And I looked at it as an opportunity to kind of give back to the profession, to give some young coaches an opportunity, but I wasn't going to compromise the beliefs, the standards that we've put together over a long period of time. But you know, when you add Coach Altman, you know, who's been a part of the Vanderbilt regime, New Mexico State when they turned it around, you know, there's some things I want people to make me better. I want to surround myself with people that can challenge me every day to be better. You know, tell me better ways to do things. Um, you know, it's like I was on the phone 2 days ago with John Gruden. I said, okay, tell me where you've been. Okay, what did you see? What did you like? You know, and he knows what we do here. I'm like, tell me different things we can do in practice, structure, you know, building toughness, building the throw game. You know, so when you have individual like him, you know, I talked about Ben Armour and you know being a head strength coach before, and then being at Duke and what they've been able to do. So you know, you look at adding individuals like that. You know, I grew up with Pete Golding in coaching at Alabama. I know what Pete Golding's all about. Well, you know, Griff McCarley. That's where he kind of cut his teeth a little bit at Ole Miss. So, you know, will we have growing processes with the young staff and learning each other? Yes, but we spend so much time together, and our wives are close, our families are close. I think we have more little kids running around the building than any other staff I've been a part of. I think that's great. Um, I think you guys witnessed it when we had um, the all access night, you know, for the individuals that were at the kickoff party a few weeks ago. I think you witnessed it. There's something different about the staff. I think they genuinely like each other, they genuinely respect each other, and they fit our philosophy of what we want. Um, so I've been encouraged by that. But thank you because um, it's probably been the biggest, and Jerry and I talk about it all the time. Just you're constantly teaching from new coaches to new players, new chief of staff, new general manager. I think that's exciting, you know, because you get a chance to improve your program. You get new ideas, you get new juice, new energy in. Um, you know, I want to hire a full-time fundraiser for the 1200 Club because I don't have time. Like all these little things that I think we're just scratching the surface here that we can get much better. But I think the quality of individual that we've brought in here in the places they've been has really kind of expedited or sped up the learning curve with new faces? But that's a good question. We're just trying to get rid of Jerry's ass and move forward. So, no, Jerry's not allowed to leave. Jerry's my left hand and right hand.
Hey, real quickly, guys, we got time for one or two more with Coach Jones.
Jeff, question, you're sleeping down here.
I know throughout the fall camp, you've highlighted the depth you built on the offensive line. How much have you seen that
Yeah,
grow?
another good question. We were really specific and targeted in what we wanted to do with our offensive line. And we knew that we needed to improve our size and we needed to improve our competitive depth. And I think we've been able to do that. And it takes a while playing in the offensive front to really gel and come together, just like I talked about earlier. I am encouraged, but we have a long ways to go. And I think they would tell you that. But we do have depth. And I think that's really helped us overall from a practice standpoint, from a physicality standpoint. But, we're going to go play Memphis, and the strength of their football team is their defensive front. The strength of TCU's team is their defensive front. I mean, we're going to play some elite defensive lines. And so I see them continuing to get better, and they will because they're talented players and it's important to them. But I think it's just, you'll learn through repetitions and doing it over and over and over again.
The talent level of this team as compared to previous COVID type, I mean not COVID, but transfer portal type.
Yeah.
How does that show?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it goes back to what I stated earlier. It's evolving. The more and more football we can play with this team and put them in competitive situations and situational football with different things, we'll find out more. And I said it at media days. Usually back in the day, it took probably 3 to 4 games to really build your football identity of your football team. Now it can range from 6 to 8 games until you build. You look at last year's team and how long it took to really establish our identity, and we kept getting better and better and better. And that's, like when we talked about, we're sitting at 1-4, but I knew that we were getting better every day by what I see. And sometimes in this world, it takes patience when you're dealing with a lot of newcomers, and not deviating from your principles and your values. But that's a good question. I ask myself that all the time. And a lot of times that's skewed just because you're going against each other and you really don't know what your opponents are about. And I think that's the other thing. A lot of teams are new. So you really don't know what you're competing against. And then when you're competing against each other, I think sometimes things get skewed. Um, so I think I'll know a little bit more as we move forward. Are there some players that are stepping up in vital roles that we know they're going to be ones that we're going to need to go to and count on? Absolutely. But I think the other thing in the evolution of this team is the development of the bottom third of our roster, from special teams, from quality depth to all that. And that sometimes takes time with reps and just meeting time and all that. But that's a good question, and I'm continuing to address that every single day.
Time for one more question.
Glad I get the last one. So you talked about earlier about how you get concept coming up. When you discussed that, it kind of came in my head like, what are some good things that we can do around here? I listened to your podcast, and then I know that you get on to the Kelsey podcast too. What would it take for you to get those guys to come down here and hype up the crowd and get them to come in and talk to the players and talk about what it's like buying into a
Right.
program and a process, seeing that these guys have won Super Bowls?
Well, we have had that. When you look at the number of individuals that have spoken with our team, Charles Barkley has spoken to our team. Travis has spoken to our team. Even a message here and there from Antonio Brown. I'm in the works of trying to bring back some NFL players from Tennessee that want to get into coaching. I think some of our biggest assets we have or great things we're doing is we welcome Ethan Hassler back as a coach now. And Ethan was raised in our program, played here for 4 years from right down the road, about an hour and 20 minutes from here. Um, and he has the equity in our program, and our players, older players, know what he's about. And so when you're able to bring back an individual like Ethan Hassler because he wants to coach, you got Justin Parks, another individual. Those two individuals were kind of the architects of getting Arkansas State football in our culture to where we wanted it. So I think having former players come back, I'm working on, getting a few former NFL players here, whether it be this year or in the off season. We're kind of working through that right now. But I think exposing your players to as many people that have had success. That's why we do the 4th-and-1s. David Goggins, another individual who's a good friend. So we've exposed our players to a lot of those, but it still comes back. I want you to think about, the companies y'all work for, and you spend all this money and you bring in this motivational speaker, and the motivational speaker comes in, and man, everybody feels good for about a day or two, and then what happens? Everybody kind of forgets kind of the messaging and the branding, and they go back to who they are. And so I think just, you know, constantly, whatever we deem important, whatever we make important is going to be important in our program. But you also got to pick your spots. There's only so much brain capacity. So you really have to be strategic, um, with what you want to do. But our players understand. But again, I think it's more of our players being our greatest ambassadors to our community and to our student body. They're their peers. Coming out, and it's one Arkansas State. I mean, it's our school versus their school. And that's the thing that we talk about all the time. And I can go on. I made it a point to do numerous orientation events with the incoming students, challenged them a little bit, kind of tried to educate them. So I think it's all a process, but Saturdays should be destination Saturdays in Jonesboro. And then I think it's, the mayor's involvement, what can we do to get the city involvement, all those things. Because if you really look at I'm getting off a tangent, but this is real stuff. Look at the economic impact. Okay. So the people that want to travel to Fayetteville that have businesses here, take Arkansas State away from this community. Do you still have a business? And all these things, I've had numerous conversations with that, and they understand that. We have a great community, but I think it's just 6 Saturdays. That's it. That's all football season brings about here. And I'm all up for ideas, anything and everything, that we can create something, and we have, but how can we create something even more special of what we have?
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach Altman, you ready?